Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Precious Benjamin here, and today I'm bringing you something hot. Today we are diving into a powerful Power BI project built from scratch to finish using a Superstore dataset. From using slick KPIs, interactive maps, and stunning visuals that tells a story, this is more than just a dashboard. It is a portfolio piece that speaks loudly. So, if you're ready to level up your Power BI game, let's jump right in. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. So this is a dashboard we are going to be working on. Okay, so this is the dashboard we are going to be working on. And this is also the dashboard, but this is when a filter was on. As you can see here, I was actually trying to know how interactive my dashboard is. I was exploring the map, okay, to be sure that my data model is not actually broken in any way, right? But this is the dashboard we are going to be building. Now, when you look at this project, okay, one thing you need to understand is I actually did an end-to-end project, okay, where I did data cleaning, data modeling before building my model, okay. Now, this is a data modeling, all right. So before I went ahead to do my data modeling, of course, you know that before you go ahead to do your data modeling, you have to first of all do your data cleaning, okay. Now, but for the course of this tutorial, we are going to be concentrating on two aspects. Okay, we are going to be concentrating on the data cleaning and the dashboard building. However, I will be uploading another tutorial where we'll be talking about the data modeling. Okay, because the data modeling involves a lot of things because there are a lot of terms I actually need to explain, like referencing, duplicating, and the rest of them. Okay, and I don't want this tutorial to be too long. Okay, so that is why in this tutorial I'm just going to be concentrating on data cleaning and dashboard building. Okay, now let's go ahead with this tutorial. Now the first thing we have to do, of course, is go over to your file and click on new. Okay, and click on new. Now this actually opens up a new Power BI desktop. Okay, but before we go ahead, I just remember that I don't think I've actually published that project. I don't think I've published this project online. Okay. So just give me a minute, please. Let me go ahead and publish this project. So it's just loading. Okay. So I say save. So I just save it to my workspace and I say okay. Okay. So I've already published it. So I just go ahead and cancel. Now let's go ahead with the tutorial. So we have already opened a new Power BI desktop. Now, if you have been following my tutorial, one thing you need to know is that I try to make every of my tutorial as beginner friendly as possible. Okay, I try to make every of my tutorial as beginner friendly as possible because I believe that there is always someone new coming to the channel to actually learn something new. Now, when you look at this desktop now, you can see that there are various ways where we can actually load our data. Okay, now you can see import data from Excel. This is if you're working with an Excel file. Then you can say import data from SQL server. That's if you want to connect your SQL server to your Power BI in order to build your dashboard. Now you can also paste data into a blank table and you can also try a sample data set. Like Power BI have various sample data sets you can actually try out. Okay. Now, when you look just below these options here, you will see get data from another source. So once you click on it, it will actually open up a place where you can actually get various data from. Okay. Now, when you look at this, it opens up an option. You can see that it has several ways you can actually get your data from. Okay. Now, because we are actually working with a CSV file, we can simply go ahead and click CSV here, then connect. But we are not going to be using that method. So we just go ahead and click the cancel and go over to file and click on get data. Then we click on CSV. Then we go ahead to look for our data set. Okay, so this is the data we are going to be working with. So we just go ahead and click it and open it. So I'm also going to be leaving the data, okay, the data set in a drive. So in case anyone wants to walk along and build along. Now, when you look at this now, you see that this is a sample of our data set. It's a preview, sorry, it's a preview of our data set. Okay. Now, instead of us to go ahead and load this directly into our dashboard, okay, and start building our dashboard, we will have to go and click on transform data because we want to do data cleaning, okay. Now, once you click on transform data, it takes you to our Power Query editor. Now, in this Power Query editor, this is where all data cleaning is done, okay. Now, in this Power Query editor, this is where you handle missing values. This is where you handle incorrect data type. This is where you delete null values. This is where you handle duplicates and the rest of them. Okay. Now, this is where you handle everything. So the Power Query is where you do your data cleaning in Power BI. Okay. Now we have to go ahead and start doing our data cleaning. Now, firstly, we need to go ahead and just delete this row ID because it is not actually necessary for our analysis. So to delete that, what we have to do is click on the row ID, right click and click on remove. Now this removes the row ID. Now, if you've been following my tutorial, I always say that one beautiful thing about Power BI is that it is non-destructive. Okay. Now, in this our Power Query editor, whatever steps that we actually take, okay, we can go ahead at the right hand side where you see the apply steps and just click on the bad sign and it goes back to normal. So this is one thing about the Power Query editor. It is non-destructive. Okay. So you can always undo whatever you have done. Now, because we actually want to delete that column, we still go ahead and right click and say remove. Now, once we right click and remove, you see here that it said removed column. Now, this other ID, we are going to be leaving it that way. Then we go ahead and we have the order date, we have the ship date, we have the ship mode, then we have customer ID, customer name, segment, country, city, state, postal code. Now for this postal code, I'm also going to be removing it. So we just right click and also remove the postal code. Then region, product ID, category, subcategory, product name, sales, quantity, discount, profits. Okay. Now, when you look at this, the first thing I want us to do is let's go ahead and confirm our data type. Now, when you look at this particular place here, this is actually what tells you the data type your column is. Okay. Now, when you look at this here, you can see that this is showing ABC. Now, this simply means that this column is a text. Now, when you want to confirm that, what you have to do is click on this. Okay. Now you can see here that ABC stands for text, okay, which simply means that this column is a text, which is correct because even though we have some numerical characters in it, you can see that it actually starts with a text character like CA, US, CA, and the rest of them. So it is actually appropriate to always leave your customer your order ID as a text, especially if it starts with a text character. Now let's move ahead. Now, when we go to our order dates, one thing you will see here is that the order date is given as a text, okay, instead of a date, which simply means that this is inaccurate. That means we actually have to go ahead and change our order date, right? Now, to change our order dates, what we have to do is we have to go over here and click here, okay? Now, when you scroll down, you see date, okay? Now, because this column only contains date and not date and time, what we simply have to do is we have to just click on it and click on date. Okay. Now, I did that on purpose. I knew that that was actually going to give us an error, but I did it on purpose to actually show you some issues or some challenges you can actually encounter when working with Power BI. Now, as you can see, most of the rows are actually given, as you can see here now, it shows that we have an error of 59%. Okay. Now, it simply means that 59% of our rows is actually giving us an error. Now, why is this giving us an error? But before I go ahead to explain that, let me go ahead and undo this. Now, in Power BI, especially when working with dates, there is what we call local, right? Now, local actually tries to correct the date type, okay, to suit the locality, okay, of the date, okay. Now, when you look at this date, okay, you can see that it is actually US date type, okay. It is actually US date type where we have the date, the month, and the year. So practically, it is actually the US date type. Okay, now each country have ways in which their date type is actually being organized. In some countries, they put the month before the year, okay, then before the day. While some country arrange it as the year, then the month and the year. Now, my Power BI date is set to my locality. And what is my locality? I'm currently in Africa. Okay. So my Power BI date is actually set to my locality. Okay. So that was why when I actually tried to change this date, okay, to data type, it gave me an error because I'm working with a US date type, not an African date type. Now, the question is, how do we fix that? Now, instead of going automatically to actually change our data type to dates from here, what we have to do is we just have to click on this column, okay? Then we'll right click on it. Then we go down to change type, okay? So once you click on change type, it gives you several data type you can actually change it to. Now we are going to be ignoring all these data type and we are going to be clicking on using local, okay? Now, once we click on using local, it will open up this. Okay. Now, it is telling you that change data type with local. Okay. Now, the data type we are trying to change it to is our date. Correct. Now, we leave it at that. Now, when you look at my local, it is showing English Nigeria. Okay. Now, this is actually the structure of Nigerian date type. Okay, but this is not suitable for the data set I'm working with because this data set is a US data set. Okay, now how do we fix this issue? All we have to do is click on this local, okay, then we look for English United States. So we scroll down and look for English United States. Okay. So once we click on English United States, then we can go over here and say okay. Okay. We can go over here and say okay. So when you look at this we have here, you see that it is not tallying with what we have here, where we have the months, the dates, and the year. Okay. We have the month, the day, and the year, which is the same thing we are having here, the month, the day, and the year. Now let's go ahead and okay this. Now, once we go ahead and okay this, you will see that this particular data type has successfully changed to date, okay, automatically, okay, without any error. Now, this is actually how you handle issue or challenges with dates. Now, when we also come to this here, all we have to do is we also have to follow the same approach we followed for our other dates. Now, if you're thinking of, oh, why can't I just go ahead and do it? Because this one gave me an error doesn't mean this one will give me an error. Now, let's try that. When you also go ahead and change it to date, it will also give you that error. Why? Because you are working with a US date type, okay, not a Nigerian date type. Okay. Now, of course, we actually have to go back and undo this. Then we have to go back and right click and say change type, and we say using local. Then we can also go ahead and say text, sorry, date. Then we can also go ahead and scroll down and look for English USA, English United States, and we can okay that. Now this change automatically. Okay. Now there is something I want to show you. Let me go ahead and undo this. Okay. Let me go ahead and undo this. Okay. Now in a situation whereby you have about five different columns with date. Okay. Where, for example, here we have just two columns with dates where we have the order date and the ship date. Now, you don't actually need to go ahead to start changing them one after the other. Okay. What you have to do is you just have to press your shift key. Then once you press down your shift key, you click the second column, okay, you want to actually change. So you can actually, with your shift key pressed down, you can choose as many columns you want to choose, okay. So because we are just working with these two columns, okay, what we just have to do is click and select those two columns. Then we can then right click and go to change type, okay, then we click on using looker, okay, then we go to and we click on dates, okay, then we look for English United States, English United States, then we okay that. Okay. Now, as you can see that we have successfully changed the two columns automatically. So we don't need to go to start changing them one after the other. Now let's move ahead. Now, when you go to this, now we have the shape mode, right? Now, when you look at this, you will see that it is giving us a text, okay, which is correct. Because when we click here to analyze this column, you will see that all the variables we have in this column are actually text, okay, where we have our fourth class, same day, second class, standard class. So we just have to okay this and move ahead. Now, this is our customer ID, okay? The unique identifier for our customers, okay, which is going to be serving as the primary key in our customer table, okay, when we are doing our modeling. But we are not going to that. We are going to be leaving this because the data type is correct and we are going to be moving ahead, okay? Now, when you look at these two, we have customer name, okay, which is also correct as ABC. Now, before we go ahead, I want us to analyze the customer name column. If you actually watch the tutorial on our customer churn dashboard, okay, where I told you that I made a mistake in that analysis when I was actually giving that assessment for the role of a senior data analyst. I did not thoroughly handle the customer name column. Okay. So nowadays, I always ensure that I check that the name of customers do not have non-numerical characters like maybe hyphen, question mark, or exclamation mark. Okay, just to be on the safer side. Now let's scroll down together. Okay. Okay, now we can simply go ahead and okay that since that is looking okay to me. All right. Now, the next thing we have to look at here is segments. Now, segment is also looking okay because it is a text data type, of course. Country is also looking okay. It's a text data type. Then city is also looking okay. Okay. It is a text data type also. Then we have state is also looking okay. It is a text data type. Then region is also looking okay. It is a text data type. Then we have the product ID, which is also looking okay. Then we have the category, which is also looking okay. We have the subcategory, which is also looking okay. Then we have the ABC, sorry, we have the product name, which is also looking okay. Then we have the cells, okay, which is also looking okay because it is a decimal data type. Okay, let's just click on that. So this 1.2 simply means decimal number. So it is a decimal data type. In Python, we call it float. So it is also looking okay. So quantity 123, which is a whole number, it is also looking okay. In Python, it is called an integer. Then discount is also looking okay. It is a decimal data type. Likewise, profit. Okay. Now, now we have actually successfully looked at our data type. Okay. Now the next thing I want us to do is I want us to select everything we have here. So let's select everything we have here, selecting all our columns. Okay. Now I want us to eliminate duplicates. Okay. So we just go ahead and click on remove duplicates. Okay. Now this is essential, especially when you want to perform your data modeling. Okay. And it's also an essential step in data cleaning. Now, since we have successfully cleaned our data, okay, the next thing we have to do is we have to go ahead and close and apply. Now we wait for it to apply. Now we have successfully applied this. Okay. Now, in a situation where you feel like, oh, I forgot to do something, you can simply go over here, right click, and go back to edit query, and it will take you back to your Power Query editor. Okay. But for now, we are not doing anything else. So we just simply go ahead and say close and apply. Okay. Now we have come to the dashboard building phase. Okay. Now, before we go ahead to start building our dashboard, one thing I want us to do is let's go ahead and save as. So let's go ahead and save this as Superstore dashboard tutorial. Then let's go ahead and say downloads and we can say save. Okay. So we have successfully saved that. Now, before we go ahead to actually start building our dashboard, we have to go ahead and calculate our KPIs. Okay. Now, let's go to this. Now, when you look at this, you can see that we calculated 6 different KPIs where we calculated the total sales, total customer, total profit, total cost, average sales, and total quantity. Okay, now we have to go ahead and calculate these KPIs, right? So as you can see, we actually calculated 6 different KPIs here, where we calculated the total sales, the total customer, total profit, total cost, average sales, and total quantity. All right. So the first thing we need to do is calculate these KPIs. Okay. Now let's just go back to our Power BI. Okay. Now I really don't like the idea of my KPIs actually being scattered everywhere. Okay. So one thing I always like to do is actually create a totally new table, okay, where I can actually host my KPIs. Okay. Now to do that, what we have to do is we go to modeling, then we click on new table. Okay. Now we say KPIs table. Okay. Now we say this should be equals to select columns. Okay. So this should be equals to select columns, then say open, open and closing, then we close this. Okay. Then we say this should be KPI. Okay. So I say KPI, then this should be empty. I'm sorry. Then we can close this. Now let's go ahead and okay this. Now, if you see now, we have created our KPI, okay, our KPI table. Now, every KPI we are going to be calculating would be under here. Every measure we are going to be calculating would be under here. So we can go ahead and remove this. Okay. Now, the next thing we can do is let's go back to home. Okay. The first thing we have to do is go ahead and calculate our measure. Okay. The first measure we are going to be calculating is, let's calculate our total sales. Okay, total sales. Now we say total sales should be equals to the sum. Okay, then we look for our sales, sum of sales. Okay, so this is our sales. Then we can go ahead and close that and we can go ahead and okay that. Okay. Now the next KPI we are going to be calculating, let's go ahead and say new measure. Okay. Now the next KPI we are going to be calculating is our total profit. Okay. And we say that should be equals to the sum of total profits. Sorry, that should be equals to the total, and that should be equals to the sum of profits. Okay. So sum of profits, then we can go ahead and say okay. Now, the next thing we have to calculate is our total quantity. Okay, so that should be total quantity. Sorry, quantity. That should be equals to the sum total quantity. So let's look for quantity. Okay, then we can go ahead and close this and we can say okay. All right. Now, the next KPI we are going to be calculating is our total costs. Okay. And to calculate our total costs, all we have to do is deduct our total sales from our total profit. So this will be equals to, so that should be equals to total, that should be equals to total Sorry, that should be equal to total sales. Okay. Then we deduct it from our total profit. Total profit. Okay. Now we can go ahead and okay this. Now this that gives us our total costs. Okay. Now the next KPI we are going to be calculating is our average sales. Okay. So what we have to do is we go to our new measure, then we say average sales. Okay. This should be equals to the average of sales. Okay. Average. Now let's look for our sales. Okay, average sales. Okay, then we can close this, then we can okay this. Okay, now we have successfully calculated our average sales. Now, like we mentioned, we have 6 different KPIs. Now let's see if we have successfully calculated the 6 KPIs. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So which KPI are we missing out on? So let's go ahead and confirm that. So I know we have calculated our total sales. Okay, we are yet to calculate our total customer. Okay. Now let's go back to calculate our total customer. Now to calculate our total customer, all we have to do is we say new measure, okay, and we say total customer, total customer. This should be equal to the distinct count, distinct distinct counts. Okay. Now we can actually use distinct count or distinct count no blank. Okay. Now these two DAX functions are actually doing different things. Okay. Now we use distinct count no blank when we are making calculations with a data set that has missing columns. Okay, sorry, that has missing rows where we have null values. Okay, so this distance count no black is simply saying that calculate the distance count in this row. Okay, but do not include any row with missing value. Okay, this is what is actually saying. But as we all know that 90% to 99% of the time, the customer ID column do not have missing values. They do not have missing values. And secondly, we have actually performed our data cleaning and we found out that we had no missing row in our columns. Okay, so we are just going to be making use of the distance count. Okay, and we are going to be counting distance customer ID. Okay, and that will give us our total customer. So we can go ahead and okay this. Now, since we have successfully calculated all our KPIs, okay, the first thing we have to do is we have to go ahead and achieve this here. Okay, let's go ahead and achieve this very part here. Now, to do that, let's go back to our Power BI. Okay, now we go ahead to insert. Okay, so once we click on insert, we go to our shape, then we click on our rectangle. Now, this gives us this visual, right? Now, the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and make this a bit smaller. Now, let's go ahead and move this down a bit. Okay, let's move it down a bit, just almost below this. Okay, now the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and customize this visual. Okay, now to do that, we have to go to shape. Okay, then we go to rounded corner. Now, when you look at this, you can see that this has a rounded corner. Okay, you can see here is what we actually call the rounded corner. Now, to achieve that rounded corner, we go to rounded corner and let's customize it to say 11. Okay, now as you can see, it is giving us that rounded shape. Okay, now the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and click on style. Okay, now when you look at this visual, you can see that there is a border. Okay, there's something like a black border line just at the corners of this visual. Okay, now we don't need that, so we have to eliminate it. Now to do that, we go ahead and say turn off border. Okay, now once you, as you can see, we are having a more cleaner structure, right? Now the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and change the color. Okay, now as you can see, the color is currently blue, so we go ahead and change it to white. Okay, now we go ahead and click on our format and let's bring this to from. Okay, now we have successfully achieved that. Okay, now the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and add shadow to this. Okay, so we go over here and turn on shadow. Now that gives us exactly what we have right here. Okay, now we can go ahead and move this down, okay, a bit. Let's go ahead and move this back. Then we can also go ahead and make this a bit larger, okay. Now let's go ahead and take this down a bit, right? Now the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and get this very icon, okay. Now to do that, we have to go ahead and open our Canva. Okay, so once we go to our Canva, what we have to do is we can go ahead and open up a new, let's open up a, let's create new, let's go to create new. Then we can just select a 1080 by 1080 post. So 1080 by 1080. Okay, logo YouTube. Now let's just say Instagram posts, Instagram. Okay. Then okay, I'm looking for something of 1080 by 1080. So Instagram post. So okay, so this is 1080 by 1080. So we can go ahead and click it. All right. Now this opens up this. Okay. Now we wait for it to load. As you can see, it's still loading. My network is a bit poor. Now, to actually get that icon, we have to click on elements. Then let's click on dashboard icon. So we check on dashboard icon. Then we can go ahead and click on it. Okay. Now we can go ahead to graphics. Then this is actually what we use. But I think no, this was what we used. Okay, this is looking bolder. All right. Now we can go ahead and actually enlarge this. Okay. Now we have to pick the same color. Okay. We have to pick the same color we actually use there. So what we have to do, we can simply go back to that particular visual, right? We can simply go back to that particular visual. Then we can pick up our snipping tool. Okay. Then we can go ahead and um just pick up this visual. Okay, then we can go ahead and save it. So let's save it as downloads. Okay, then we can save this. Now let's go back to our Canva. Okay, then we can simply go back to where we saved that particular visual. Then we can actually simply load it to our Canva. Okay, so once we have successfully uploaded it to our Canva, we can simply just go here and click it over there, right? Then we can simply go ahead and enlarge it, okay? Then it will bring up the color. Then we can simply go ahead and click it, all right? Now, this is a color right here, okay? Now, let's go back to our icon, okay? Now, once we click on our icon, we can simply go ahead and click here to change the color. Now, it will show you photos colors, okay, which is the icon we included. So we can simply pick this, right? Then we can simply go ahead and download this as a PNG. So we download it on a transparent background and we say current page, right? Then we say done, then we say download. Now this has successfully been downloaded, right? Then what we have to do is we go back to our Power BI, then we go to our insert, right? Then we go to our image, then we pick this icon here and we say open. Okay. Now this brings it here, so we can simply actually make it smaller, okay, to suit what we are working on. Okay, so we can simply make this, let's take this down here, it's down. Let's make it a bit smaller. Then we can put it right here, right? So that is it. We can put it right there. Okay. So that is it. Now the next thing we actually have to achieve is let's go ahead and look at this. We have to achieve our slicers where we have the region, the segment, and this image here. Let's go back to our Power BI. Okay. Now, what I want us to do is, as you can see, this our wallpaper is actually giving us a pure white. Okay. So I want us to change this to something like gray, right? Now to do that, we go over to our wallpaper. Okay. Now we can select something. I want it to be something like this. Okay. Something like this. Right. What do you think, guys? Let's see. Okay, let's leave it to be something like that. I think it's looking better that way. Okay, it's looking better that way. Then to achieve our slicers, what we have to do is go over to slicers. Now, where is our slicers? Slicers. Okay, so this is our slicer. So we can simply go ahead and pick up what we want to actually visualize, which is our vision, right? So let's confirm that, please. Our region, that's correct. So we can simply drag this and move it to the feeds. Okay. Now this is our region. Okay. Then we can simply go ahead and start customizing this region. So we can simply go ahead to slicer setting. So let's say horizontal. No. So we leave that as vertical. Okay. Then we can simply go ahead to multi-select with control. So now this multi-select with control enable us to select multiple region, okay, to view multiple region at the same time, like select multiple region at the same time, okay. But okay, this is not what we are looking for. So we just go ahead and close this and leave it as it is, okay. Then let's say slicer header. Let's go ahead and turn off slicer header, okay. Let's turn that on. Let's turn that off. Let's turn that on. Let's just go ahead and make this a bit bold. Then let's turn off slicer header. So let's leave it. Now let's look at values. Let's change font to something else. So let's change font to Canva. Okay. I think I prefer Canva more. And we leave color as white. Okay. Now should we change this to 11? Well, let's leave it at 12. It's looking bolder. Now so let's not add border, let's leave it. Now background white, then let's go to general, then let's look at properties. Okay, let's look at title of effects background. Let's turn off background. Okay, then I think that's all. Should we turn on shadow? Now let's move this here to see what we have. Okay, now we can simply make this a bit smaller. Can simply make this a bit smaller. Then yes, so we can simply make this a bit smaller. And okay, so I think this is looking okay. Or should we turn off should we turn off shadow? Let's turn off shadow and see what we have. So let's go back to effect and let's turn off shadow. Okay, I think this is looking neat. All right, now let's go back to our dashboard. Okay, so you just have to make this a bit bigger, right? We make this a bit bigger, okay? Then we can actually take this up a bit. We can take this up a bit, make sure it is centralized. Then we can actually move this up a bit, okay? Let's see this. Let's see this. Okay, we can move this here a bit, right? So the next thing we have to do is let's uncheck the split. So let's uncheck that. Then the next thing we have to do is we have to achieve this line right here. Now, now to do that, what we have to do is we go over to our shape again. Let's pick our rectangle and let's take it over here, right? We take it over here, our rectangle. Then we can simply go ahead and style it. We turn off the border, then we go ahead and change it to the color we want it to be, right? Then we can make that smaller, okay? Then yes, that's what we are trying to achieve, okay? Now the next thing we have to achieve, of course, is this, okay? We have to achieve the segments, okay? Now to do that, we also go back to our dashboard, then we pick up our slicer, okay? Then we make it a bit smaller, make it a bit smaller, okay? Then we can go ahead and pick our segments and drop it at the fields, okay? Then we can go ahead with customization. So slicer header, okay, we leave that on. Then let's go to values. Let's change the font to Canva for uniformity. We change it to Canva, okay? So this is 12, Canva 12. So let's go to general and let's turn off the background, okay? Let's turn off the background and let's move this here, right? Let's move this here. So we can make this smaller and make this smaller. Then we can move it up, right? So we can also take this a bit up. Then we can take this up, right? Then we can take this up too, okay? Now this is coming along, right, guys? Now let's go back to our dashboard. The next thing we have to achieve is this particular image of mine. So to do that, let's go over to our dashboard. And what I simply did there was I already had this image. So all I simply did was put it in a frame in Canva, which I already did because it was already in a frame in Canva. Okay, as you can see here, it was already in a frame in Canva. If you actually followed my churn video, okay, the churn tutorial, Power BI churn tutorial, you would actually see how we can actually add an image to a frame in Canva. So for this, what I have to do is we simply go ahead to image, okay? Then we look for that image in my files. Let's look for that image in my files. Okay, okay, I think I saw it right here. So we just pick this image, okay? We say okay. Now I've successfully imported this image of mine. So I just have to make it smaller, right? To make it smaller, you also push it this way. Then you can go ahead and make it bold. Then you can just put it right here, right? Hey, I love what's how this is coming along. I really do. So we can make this smaller, right? Then we can just leave it right here at the middle, right? Now, the next thing we have to do, of course, is we can go ahead and let's go back to the dashboard. Now, you can see we need to achieve the name here, marketing analyst, my name, Precious Benjamin. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to go over to insert. Then we're already in our insert. Then we just pick up our text tool. Then we can go ahead and say, make this a bit longer, right? Let's say marketing analyst, Precious Benjamin, Precious Benjamin, Precious Benjamin. Then you can go and highlight this. Let's turn this to Canva. So we say Canva, then we say let it be 12. Then we can go ahead and bold this. Okay. So yes, that is coming along, Precious Benjamin. Great. Then we can go ahead to click on properties. Then we can go ahead to say effect. Now let's turn off background. Okay. So it will give us a plain neat text. Okay. So we can simply go ahead and let's bring this down. Right. Now let's make the this way. Then we can simply go ahead and move this right here. Okay. Now if this is looking too bold, then we can reduce this to say 11. Now, how is that looking, guys? So let's say 11 and let's, okay, I think that's looking better, right? So we can simply click on this tool and let's go to format. Okay, now let's go to align and let's say center. Okay, so we can also go to align and say Okay, we can't distribute horizontally or vertically, so we just leave it that way. So we have successfully achieved this particular part, right? Now let's go back to the next thing. Now, the next thing I want us to achieve is I want us to achieve this particular part here, this upper part here. Okay, let's achieve this upper part here. Now, to do that, let's go back to our visual. Okay, then we can simply go over to insert. Okay, then we can simply pick our tool also, our rectangle, and we can simply move it here, right? Then we can move this down, right? Or even move it down or even make it smaller. Okay. So this can actually fit in. All right. I think that was what we did right there. Now let's go ahead and verify that, please. Okay, so that was actually fitting in and this was down. Okay. Now we can simply make this go down, right? We can simply make this go down. We can also simply make this go down. Then we can also simply make this go down, right? We can make this go down more. Then this can it can be made smaller, right? It can be made smaller. Okay, then this can go down here. Okay, so this can go down here. Then this we can actually bring this down a bit. No, we want to move this down, so we can actually take this down, right? Then we can actually move this down. Okay, we can move this down. We can move this down. We can move this down. Okay, then right here we can move this down. Okay, can even make this a bit smaller, right? Then we can move it down. Just make it a bit broad. Okay, and just simply make it. Oh no, it's not what I was trying to achieve. So we can simply make this broad. No, that's not what I was trying to achieve. So I just want us to make this broad a bit. Okay. Then this can actually come down a bit. Then no, this can go up a bit, right? This can go up a bit. Then this can come up a bit, right? So this can go up a bit. Okay. This can go up a bit. Then this can go up a bit. So think I think I want this to come up a bit. Okay, so this is looking better, right? It's looking better. Then we can go over to this and let's take it to let's see if it got to the end. So yeah, it did get to the end. So we just have to give a little space over there and a little space over here, right? Then we can also take this down a bit. Okay, so there will be a space at the upper part, right? Then we can simply go ahead to customization, right? So the first thing we have to do is let's change it to white. Okay, then we can also turn on shadow, turn off border. Um, what else do we have to do? So let's go ahead to general. Let's say effects. Background is already off, so I think that's what we just have to do. Okay. Then for this, we can move this up. Okay. Then we can simply go ahead and say chip. Now let's set this at 10, right? Let's set this at 10. Okay. Now this is looking much better, right? Now let's compare it with what we have up there. Okay, though that one is looking larger, right? Isn't it? So let's make this bolder a bit. I think now this is too bold. Okay, then we can move this up a bit. Let's move this up a bit. Okay, I think we can move this up a bit. So I think that's what we can have for that. Okay, then let's take this down a bit. Okay, so let's make those a bit bold. Okay, I think is it too bold compared to the one we have here? I think they're actually giving me the same size. Okay, I think it's okay that way. Now, the next thing we have to do, of course, is we have to achieve the text that says performance analysis. So we pick our pen tool and we just have to make this a bit smaller, and let's move this here. And we say sales analysis, says analysis dashboard, right? Sales analysis dashboard, sorry, dashboard BOALD. Then we can go ahead and set this to Canva. Okay, then let's make this 12, then let's make this bold, right? But let me just make this 14 and bold. Then we can go ahead to customization. The first thing I want us to do is turn off background. Okay, then I can make this smaller and we can simply move this up here, right? Okay, we can simply move this up here, definitely. Then we can go ahead and oh no, that was not what I was trying to do. Now we can go ahead and just move this. Okay, don't do that Power BI. So let's Control Z that, then let's Control Z that again. Then I want us to, no, I want us to format this and bring it to front. Okay, bring to front so it doesn't go moving all over the place, right? Then we can simply move this down. Okay, so we can simply move this down. So this says sales analysis dashboard. So let's try moving this to the middle. Now I think this is actually giving me what we have here, right? But why do I feel like this text is looking bolder? And we say sales performance analysis. So this should be sales performance analysis. Okay. Then we can simply make this go up right here. Then let's make this 16. Okay, let's make this 16 and okay, I think that's fair right now. So the next thing is we have to achieve this here, these buttons. Now to do that, we simply go over to insert, then we say insert buttons. So the first button we inserted was let's check that out. It was the question and more information. So let's say the question, which is help. So we can actually make it bigger. Then let's move it here and let's just make it smaller, of course. Then the next thing we have to do is let's go over to type it, right? Um, type it. Let's move down, right? Now let's go over to icon, line color. We have to make it our color. I think that's what we have to do for now. Okay. So I didn't actually link that to anywhere, but it's actually possible to link it if you want to. Okay. So well, we didn't link that to anywhere. So I just left this right here. Okay, well, it's looking smaller here. So let me just go ahead and make it a bit bigger, right? Then I can move it over to this place. Okay. Now, the next thing we have to achieve is the information. So we also go to buttons, then we say information. Then we have to enlarge this so we can move it over to this place. Then we can make this smaller, of course, make it smaller. So we can go over to style. Then we go over to icon, of course. Then we go over to line. Then we go over to pick our color code, then we can move it, right? Then we can simply hold these two icons, then we go over to format, then we go over to align and we say no, we did it wrongly. Then we can simply say middle. But before we do that, we have to first undo aligning to center. Okay, so we just go over to format, then we go over to align, then middle, right? Then we also go over to align. You are already aligned to middle. Then um we can move this a bit closer, right? Then we can click on both of them and try moving them up. Okay. Now this is going to up for my liking. Then let's take it down just one more. Okay. That's still looking off. Let me see the relationship. Okay. So let's take this a bit close. Let's make it go close to this. So um let's take this here and take it down. Okay, I think that's looking much better right now. Now let's go back to our dashboard. The next thing I want us to achieve is I want us to achieve this box holding these visuals here. So these two boxes, that is what I want us to achieve, holding these visuals, right? Now to do that, let's go over to our dashboard and let's go to insert, right? Now let's pick our shape to our rectangle definitely. Then let's make this come this way. Then let's make it align to what we have here. Okay. So okay. So let's go ahead and format this. Now to do that, we go over to style. Let's turn this to, of course, white. We turn on the shadow and we turn off the border. Okay. Then we have to go over to shape and let's make rounded to be 11 and we can okay that, right. Let's see if it is giving us what we have here. Okay, it's kind of giving us what we have there. So let's go over to our dashboard again. Now let's go over to our dashboard again. Did we make this bigger? Okay, think let's just leave that the way it is. Okay. Now we also pick up our shape too. Okay, we make this come down here, right? Make this come down here and we make it go up, go up, go up, go up, right? No, I think this is okay. Then let's make sure it is okay. Now we can go over to our shape. Then let's make rounded to 11. Then we go over to our style. Let's change color to white and let's turn off border and let's add shadow now. Okay, this is coming along. Now let's go back to our dashboard. As you can see, we have successfully achieved this and achieved this. Okay. Now the next thing I want us to do is go ahead and visualize this. Okay. Now to do that, we have to start by saying sales by segment. Okay, sales by okay, no, let's start from here. Okay, let's start by visualizing our sales and profits by quantity and our sales by region. Okay, now we are going to be using this scatter plot. Okay, now this scatter plot I actually installed it. It is not the default scatter plots we actually have on Power BI. So let's go over to our Power BI. Okay, so let's go over to get more visuals and let's say get more visuals. Then we wait for that to open up. Now, once that opens up, what we have to do is let's go over to say scatter plot. Okay. I've actually forgotten the scatter plot I actually used. Okay. So let's just go ahead to the project to confirm that. So let me know the scatter plot I used. So okay, scatter charts. Okay. So we can go over to that now and say scatter charts. So scatter charts. Okay, I think this was the one I used. I think this was it. So we just go over to click on it. So we allow it to load up. So we simply go ahead and add it. So let's wait for it to add up. So once it adds up, it's going to tell us that we have successfully added, okay, import successfully. So we can say, okay, so now we can actually see it here. Okay, then we can click on it, right? Now let's go ahead and make that smaller. Okay, so we can move that over to here. Let's make it smaller. Okay, now we simply have to go ahead and select our simply have to go ahead and select what we want to visualize. Okay, now when you go over to here, you'll see that we actually, when you click on this particular visual here, you will see that we actually visualized our quantity, our sales, and our profits. Okay, now we go over to the visual. Okay, so what we have to do is we go over to our quantity and put it in our category. Then we go over to our sales and put it in our x-axis. Then we go over to our profits. So here's our profit rate. Profits. Okay, we go over to our profit and put it in our y-axis. Okay, now that gives us that visual there. Then we can go ahead and make that. I feel like this is looking too small. So let's go ahead and make this a bit bigger. We can always adjust as we work. Okay, so we can simply go ahead to start customizing this. Okay, now what we have to do is I want us to go to edit. Okay, so let's go to appearance, editing the appearance. We have to go to this. Okay, now let's go to custom color. Now I want us to use this green. Okay, we'll get the main color to actually update it later. But I know that what we used there was a green, so we can update it later. Okay, then we can say okay, right? Then we can go back to reports. Okay, now that gives us that field we had there. Then we can go over to make this a bit smaller, right? Now let's see if we can actually customize some things here. Now let's go over to our chart options. Okay, so let's use our Canva. So let's go over to Canva. So let's select our Canva, right? Now let's go over to our x-axis. Okay, now there are a lot of things we can do here. So let's just leave it at linear. Okay, now position right. No, let's just leave it at left, right. Now let's go down and see if there's any more thing we want to do. So I would just suggest we leave everything at the default setting and let's go over to data labels. So let's leave it at font color black, right. Now I think there's not much thing we have to do. So let's go back to general and let's go to header. Let's turn off header. Okay, now let's go to effect. I want us to turn off background. Okay, so I think that's the only thing I actually want us to do, right? So I also want us to make this a bit bigger. Now we can leave this at that for now. Okay, now as you can see, I think this sales and profits by quantity is actually giving us a different font, if I'm not mistaken. Now let's see if that is correct. Okay, now let's go to general and let's say title. Okay. Now you see, so let's go ahead and change it to Canva. Okay, Canva. And let's go ahead and make it 12. Okay. Now this is actually giving us what we have. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and pick up our donut charts. Okay. Now let's go ahead and pick up our donut charts. Okay. Now we are actually trying to achieve this right here. Okay, we are trying to achieve this right here. Okay. Now what we have to do is let's go over to our dashboard. Okay. Now what we actually visualized there was what? So we visualized our sales by region. Okay. Now let's take a look at that properly. So we did our sales, okay, by region. Okay. Now what we have to do is let's go over here and let's say let's pick our sales. Here's our sales by region. So value should be sales, right? And let's say region, okay? So this is our sales by region, okay? Now we have to simply go ahead and customize this also. Okay, we have to simply go ahead and customize this. So let's just make this smaller. So let's make this a bit small, a bit small. Okay, so we can make this a bit bold. Make this bold a bit. Mhm. So let's make this a bit bold and let's drag this here a bit. So there is space, but not so much space. So we can actually use the space for something. Then we can go ahead and make this a bit bold, right? Then we can also go ahead to make this bold also. So we can go ahead to make this bold, right? Then we can also go ahead to make it bigger. Then we can go ahead to make it bigger. Now we can go ahead to start customizing this. First, let's look at the slices, right? So we are going to be using the colors we actually used there, right? Well, let's leave that for now. Let's go to details, okay? So we can actually place this inside or we can place this outside. Let's just leave it outside, okay? Let's leave it outside. Then let's go to category, okay? Now let's say data value. So we leave it at data value. Okay. So let's go to legend. Now let's place legend at the bottom. Okay. At the bottom left, or we can simply place it at the bottom center. Okay. I think this makes sense at the bottom center. Now the next thing we have to do is we can go ahead and start customizing our colors, right? So we go to slices. Now this particular one, we can use this, right? Then let's go to our dashboard and pick the colors. So let's just double click here. Okay. So let's go to this. Let's go to slices. Now let's pick this color. Okay, we can simply pick this color. Then we go back to our dashboard. Then let's click on this. Now let's go back to slices, right? Now right here, let's say more color. Let's paste this here. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is let's also go back to this dashboard. Okay. Let's go over to this. Now let's say more colors. Let's pick up this color. Now let's go back to this dashboard and let's click here and let's say more colors. Now let's paste this there, right? Now let's also go over to that dashboard again to pick the green color. Okay, so we go over to this. Let's say more colors. Let's pick the green color. Okay, we pick the green color. Then we go over to our dashboard. Then we go over to our dashboard and we click right here. We say more and we paste it. Then we say okay. All right. Now we can go ahead to start customizing this. So let's go ahead to our format your visual. Then let's go over to general. Okay. Now let's go over to title. Now let's change that to Canva. Okay. And let's reduce that to 12 also. Then the next thing we have to do is let's go over to visual. Let's go over to detail label. Okay. Now let's go over to values. Now let's change that to Canva to Canva. Okay. Now I think that is looking better. All right. Now we have successfully achieved that. Okay. Now the next thing we have to achieve is, of course, let's go ahead and achieve this. Okay. Now this is a bar chart showing sales by segment. Okay. Now to do that, let's go over to this. So to visualize our sales by segments, all we have to do is we come over here and let's pick our clustered bar charts, or let's change it to stacked bar charts, right? Now let's make this a bit smaller. Let's move this here. Okay, let's take this up a bit and let's move this here. Right now, let's pick up our segment and let's put it in our y-axis and let's pick up our cells. Okay, now let's put it over here. Then let's make this a bit bigger. Let's make this wider. Let's also make this wider and let's make this longer. Then we can make this smaller. All right. Then we can go ahead to start customizing our visual. To start with, let's go over to general and let's say effects. Let's turn up background. Okay. Now the next thing I want us to do is let's go over to title. Now let's change that to Canva and let's make it 12. Okay. Now the next thing I want us to do is let's go over to visual. Now let's go to our x-axis. Let's also make that Canva. So let's look for Canva, right? Okay. Now we also have to go over to our y-axis. Okay. Let's also make values Canva. Now let's say Canva for values. Okay. Canva. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is let's go to effects and no, let's go to visual. Okay, let's go down to our columns. Okay, then let's go to color and let's choose green. Okay, now this is looking much better. All right, now the next thing we have to do is of course we use our map. Okay, our shape map. So we just bring it over here and we can just move this here and move this here. Okay, now let's go to our shape map. Okay, now this is our shape map. We are actually looking at total profit, okay, by state, right? Total profit by state. So let's go over to here and let's pick our states column to here and let's pick our, sorry, what did we visualize again? So say total profits, okay, by states, okay. So let's look for our total profits, of course, under our KPI. So let's use it as our color saturation, okay. Now let's go ahead to start formatting that. All right. Now what we have to do is let's go ahead and pick the color we actually used for this. Okay, so to do that, let's go over to our map setting. Now let's look at our fee colors. Okay, so for our maximum, we use this. So let's go ahead and copy this. Now let's go ahead to here. Okay, now let's go ahead to our format visual. Now let's go ahead to fee colors. Okay, now the minimum, let's of course make use of Ctrl V, we paste that there, and the maximum we can always use the green. Okay, now that gives us our shape map. Then we can simply go ahead and to our map setting. Let's look at our map setting. Okay, now let's look at zoom and let's say auto zoom. Okay, now let's go to general and let's say title. Now let's change this to Canva. Okay, and let's make it 12, Canva 12. Okay, now let's go to properties, right? I think that's okay. Let's turn off header icon, tulips on. So I think let's turn off our background. Okay, background should be off. Now we have successfully achieved that. Now we can go ahead to start visualizing our KPIs. Okay, we are going to start visualizing our KPIs. Okay, now for our KPIs, the visual I actually used was card by states. Okay, or card with state. So you're just going to install the visual. So we'll wait for that to load up. Now we go ahead and select cards with state. Okay, so this is it here. So we just go ahead and install that. So we'll wait for that to come up. So we just go ahead to add it. So card with states. So we wait for it to add up successfully. Okay. Then we can simply go ahead and pick our card with states. Okay. Then we can make this smaller. Okay. Then we can simply move this. I want us to move this here. Right now, let's make this, of course, smaller. So let's make this smaller. Then we can make this wider. Right. So we have three KPIs per row. Okay. So we can make this, no, this is okay this way. Now let's go ahead and visualize our total sales. Okay, so we track our total sales to the measure. Then we have to use our dates. Okay, we have to use our date. So let's make use of our date as a trend line. Okay, so let's say ship dates, order dates. So we can make use of the order dates as a trend line. Okay, the piece is low. So we can go ahead to choose what we want. We can simply go ahead to choose what we want. Okay. Then we can simply go ahead to customize this. Okay. Now let's go ahead to card and let's use this as a background. Okay. Then let's go ahead to close this up and trend line. Let's make use of trend line. So let's make it of this, of course, as a trend line. Okay. Now, what we have to do is that the same thing? Let's check. Well, it need not be exactly the same. Okay. It need not be exactly the same, but let's look at the color we use for the card. So the color wasn't was it it wasn't pure white. So let's just go ahead and copy this. Okay, then we can go back to this and let's go back to our visual. Then let's go back to card. Then we can go back to more and let's paste this here. All right, it's much better. Then we can simply go back to our data label. Okay, so we can simply leave this as black. Okay, then for this we can say sum. Okay, then sum. Okay, then we can go down. Then we leave family as Dean. Okay, we'll leave family as Dean. Then we can leave that for now. Then let's go back to our card and let's say um let's go back to our card. So let's go to general, let's say properties, then let's on this, right? Let's do this and see total. Okay, no. So we are going to off that. Okay, that's not what we are trying to achieve. Okay, so let's go to effects and let's turn off background. Okay, then let's turn off header icon also. Then let's go to thread line. Okay, so mark color. So let's turn off this and see. Then I want us to. So let's just go back then. And Okay, so that is still showing us that, right? Now let's go ahead and let's go over here. Okay, let's go over to data label. So let's go over to let's just scroll down. Okay, now let's go over to now let's go over to trend line. Think we have been here before, so let's say half, then let's say empty bottom. So let's just make use of the empty bottom. That is perfect. Then let's go down. All right. So let's just go down here. Then let's check this. All right. Current template. Let me turn this on and see. Okay. So let me turn this off. Now let's go back again. Then let's close this. Okay. Now let's go to premium. Okay. I'm looking for something category. Okay. Display, measure, and target value. Okay. Let's say measure with aggregation. Let's say measure. Okay. Now that was what I was looking for, right? Now let's go down to text size. Let's say make it 13. Okay. Then let's say Canva, of course. Then I think that's looking okay. Then yes, I think that's that for that. This is what I was trying to achieve. Now, the next thing we have to do is let's just go ahead and copy this particular visual. Okay. Then we can say Control V, then we'll paste it. So Control V, we paste it. Then let's move it over here. Sorry, I think that is lagging. So let's move it over here, right? Okay, now that's looking fair. Now, the next thing I want us to do is let's just go ahead and make this for so because this is for total sales, right? So let's just go ahead and remove this total sales and let's just go to our KPI table and let's just bring down total profit here. Okay. Now let's also Control V this. Then let's move this over here. Okay. Now, okay. Now let's move this a bit. Let's move this a bit. Okay. I think it's looking better that way. Then we can then move this. Okay. I think this is looking fair. Then for this, we can simply remove this. Okay. I'm trying to so we can simply remove this and let's go ahead and bring our total sales. Okay. No, I think we have visualized our total sales. So let's go ahead and visualize our total quantity. Okay. I think this is looking better. Now let's go ahead and also paste again and let's move this down here. Now this is where we will have some issues because we have to make sure that this entered this particular place. Uh, does this thing. So let's move this up a bit, right? Move this up a bit. So let's just go back and right now I will have to reduce this, right? We have to reduce this. Okay, so we'll have to reduce this. So we also have to reduce the height for this. Okay, then we also have to reduce the height for this. Okay, now this is looking fair. Now let's move this a bit. So, okay, now this is looking fair. Now we can simply, let's go ahead and write this. So let's see, I think that's the best it can go, right? That's the best it can go. Then we can simply come over here and also copy this. Okay, let's copy visual. Then we can Control V, paste that. Then let's move this. Okay, let's know why this keeps happening. I just want to move this. Okay, so keep living with me. What's proving big problem right now? That's not what I want to do. So let's Control V again. Let's Control V again. Then let's move. Now let's move this. Okay, so we just move this here. So we just try to move this, right? Just try to move this. Okay, I really want to move this up. So I want it to, I don't know why that is proving difficult. Okay, so I can now also paste again. Then let's move this here. Okay, I wish I know a better way to move my KPIs, honestly. Because when I try to use my arrow buttons in my laptop, it doesn't work. And moving it this way actually can actually be very, 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 very frustrating for me. And when I try moving it with my button, it doesn't work. So sometimes it gets frustrating for me. Okay, let me just see what that is looking like now. Okay, I think that's looking okay, right? But I still feel like there should be there should be spaces, right? Sorry, let me just come here. So I still feel like I want to have spaces, right? Small spaces between those KPIs. Okay, especially between those ones here, right? And let's see if we can reduce the KPI. Okay, that's one thing. See if we can reduce it. Okay, let's see if we can reduce it. Like, let's see if we can do that. Okay, okay. So I think this is even looking better to me. So I can go ahead and just eliminate all this, right? So let's just go ahead and eliminate all this. So we can remove. Okay. Now, I can even decide to increase this a bit and make this a bit smaller, right? Now, I can decide to copy this, then Control V. So just move this here, okay? Then Control V again, then move this here, okay? So move this here. Okay, then for this, I can move this a bit, right? So, um, I move this to make sure that, okay, remove this a bit, move this here, then I can move this here, okay? Then I can also Control V, I can take this down, right? Why is this thing always happening? I can take this down, right? Then I can Control V again and take this here, okay? Then I can Control V again and take this here too. Okay. Oh, okay. Hmm. Yes. Now I think this is looking better. Right now I can actually move this. Okay. Up. Then I can take this to. No, that's not what I was trying to do. Okay. Let's wait for that to load up. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to move this. Okay, I want to move this. Okay, to here, right? Then okay, I think that will actually mess up some things I have there. So I can actually move this here, right? I can move this here. Then I can I can also move this here, right? So why do I even like this better than this? I'm beginning to like this, the what we are working on now better than this here. I don't know why. So I think this is looking okay to me. To me, it's looking okay. Then what I have to do is I can push this up a bit, right? I can push it up a bit, and also this I can push it up a bit, right? Then I can move this a bit. Okay, I think that's it. Now we can simply go ahead and start with changing the dates. Then we can simply move our total sales here. Okay, so what we have to do now is we just go have to go ahead and fill this up. So for this total sales, we have to go ahead and fill it up with total profit. Okay. Then for this, we have to go ahead and fill it up with total customers. Then for this, we have to go ahead and fill it up with total costs. Okay. Then for this, we have to go ahead and fill it with average sales. Okay. Then from this, we have to go ahead and fill it with total quantity. Okay. So why am I even liking this better than the other one? Okay. Okay. So is there any other thing we have to do? Is there any other thing we have to do? Is there any other thing we have to do? Okay, I think this is looking okay. Now let me go ahead and do yes later. So guys, what do you people think? Okay, what do you people think? So let me just take this down a bit. No, okay, let me take that off. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. But honestly, I'm beginning to prefer this particular one to this one we have here. Yes, I'm preferring that to this one we have here. Okay, I'm preferring this particular one to what we have there. Okay, so this is actually what we have. Okay, so this is actually how I was actually able to create this dashboard. Now, let's just go ahead and save this. Okay, we can go ahead and save this. Then let's pick up our snipping tool. Then let's go ahead and see what this looks like. So we say new, then we can go ahead and see what this actually looks like. Okay, now we can go ahead and save. So let's save this. We can just leave it as screenshots. Yes. So let's go over here and let's open this and Let's go ahead and open this and see. Okay, so this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So this is what this looks like, and this is what this looks like. Okay, so we have come to the end of the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share.